All right, come on, let's give God a hand praise again. Today we are real relaxed today because we're not allowing the heat to get to the best of us. We're live and we're on Roku, and we're directing you to go to Roku because we'll be coming off of Facebook and going only on Roku. And you can go to your Roku TV or Roku device, and you can download the app Faith to Life, Faith, the number 2 LIFE network. Download Faith to Life network, and you can watch us live on demand as well. You can go back and watch these services and past services so that you can catch up on what God is doing here at God's Commission Church. Also, you can go on the internet. If you don't have Roku and you just got your computer, you can go in and type in your browser, Faith to Life Network. And when you type faithtolifenetwork.com, it will come up, and you can click on videos on demand. You can click on live, and you can watch us live on there as well. We thank God. We're going into this word. We're in a series called Finding Salvation. That's what we're going to stay on this morning. We're going to stay on finding salvation and allowing God to protect you. We're in this series because my wife had a huge desire, a burning desire that we teach on salvation. And I began to ask God on how to do it and which way you want me to do it, and trying to figure out what's the best way to talk about salvation, because a lot of times we think we have salvation simply because we think we know Jesus' name, or we know Jesus, we've heard of his name or heard of his reputation. But to know him and to really have a relationship with him is you must have salvation. They got to go hand in hand, because if you don't have salvation, you cannot have a relationship with him. One thing I love about the ministry staff here at this church, we are all united, and we all think kind of the same way when it comes to the Word of God. And we all sometimes piggyback off of each other, and we ride off each other. My wife preached the message, the glory will come. And when she preached that, she was talking about the fact that when the glory of God comes and your trials and your tribulations are hard, that when the glory of God comes, he will remove the hell out of your process. And sometimes we as believers tend to not understand the importance of having God in our process. Not that we don't want him, because we just don't understand how to place him there. This morning we're going to deal with finding salvation, and we want to find that how God is going to help us. I got caught up there just a minute because I was thinking about another message that was preached here at the church, and it kind of coincide with what we are going to deal with tonight, this morning, and it said, get out of your head. And, you would think that's the very place you want to be, is in your head with your thoughts. But sometimes being in your head with your thoughts make the process even more complicated. Oh, we're going to get real this morning, because we're going to understand that not only do God allow us an opportunity to work things out in our life, he also lets us know how life is going to be in this process. I don't know about you, but sometimes my life gets rough. I don't know about you, but sometimes my life gets to the point to where I just want to say, man, it would be easy just to toss it in the trash and not even think about it no more. Sometimes my life gets so difficult that it's so chaotic in my life that finding order is hard for me to grasp. Finding significance of why I'm in this situation is hard to grasp. And sometimes I just want to put it in a bag and ball it up and toss it as far as I can away from me and say, you know what, I need a new one. You know how you do that old car? When you're driving it, when you first bought it, it was brand new. And when you bought that car, it was running perfect. Everything was good. You turn on the air, it come on. You turn on the heat, it come on. When you roll the windows up and down, it come on. The windshield didn't have a crack on it. You could wash it and it'll get pretty shiny. You shine up the wheels. You sweat to get that car to look the way you want it to look. You keep it clean and all of that. But the minute the car started breaking down and things started going bad, you just said, man, that old raggedy thing, you don't even feel the same way about it no more. You're ready to kick that car to the curb. Not that it's not a car, but the car now is more of a burden to you rather than a benefit. It's more of an asset now than a liability. A liability rather than an asset, because liability is the pressure of things. The liability is the obligation that you must achieve these things to get to where you're going. Access is the things that got value. When you first found God, he had value. He had so much significance in your life that nothing could turn you or make you go away from what he has placed in your life. Sometimes we got loved ones in our life that we depend on, that we stand upon, and we hope that without them being in our life, we feel so hopeless. But ain't it good that God don't leave us like our loved ones? When you got God, God can make your process even better, even though it's not going to get easy because you got God. Now that's a mouthful, because we are taught in this church, in churches today, that because you found God, now life's going to get easy. Baby, it's a long ways from that. You can accept him as your personal Savior, and I want to get this notion out of your head that once you got Jesus, you got no more time for trouble. Trouble can't touch you. Burdens can't mess with you. Troubles of pain of life can't affect you. I want to get that notion out of your head. You're just starting. Because the pressures of life is not going to change because God came in your life. Oh, that's another way of preaching, ain't it? You think when you get Jesus, everything gonna be cakes and cream, and everything gonna be donuts, everything's gonna be candy, Skittles, and all pretty colors, and everything's gonna be great desserts and great collard greens and hog maws and all of that. You think that everything gonna get better because you got God. But I'm here to tell you, just because you get God, don't make your life easy. We're going to dive into this word. We're going to the book of Philippians. Finding salvation. I'm learning even more when these messages come. God preaches to me first, and he deals with my situation so that I can help you deal with your situations. Because what you must understand is, as I preach the word of God, as I give God the ability to use my mouth and use my heart, God says things in me and make me say things that sometimes I'm not even coming up to par. But he said, that's okay. You're not coming up to the standard, but you keep living, you're going to get there. And I'm saying the same thing to every one of you in this room. You're going to get there. You might not be there now. Don't worry about not being there now. Just know you're going to get there. I'm inclined in this word today. Last week we talked about the beginning. Paul says, do the Christianity, the practical things of being a saint, practical things of being a child of God. Do what you know to do, just being a child of God. That is to do the right thing. It's hard to do the right thing. Today, I'm going to use an illustration because I saw a video and I was looking at this message and I was like, God, I need to have something to stand on. And I was going to have this in my presentation and all of that. And I said, no, I'm not going to do it that way. I need to do it another way. And I'm going to do it my old school way because I don't want to get distracted by my presentation, and my presentation become more important than my God getting his message across. So I'm going to do it the old school way. As I was looking at this message, I come across a video about a whale. And I was like, okay, Lord, why am I watching a whale? He said, keep watching. The well was in the water. And while he was in the water, there was a commentary going along while he was swimming. Unique creatures. One of the most vast and the most biggest thing on earth is a whale, the big whale. And the whale swims in water. And God said, keep watching. I said, Lord, how is this making sense to salvation? He said, keep watching. As I was watching, the man began to tell the story about the whale. Now, I'm not a big researcher on whales, but I started doing a whole lot of research on whales, and I started trying to find what it is that God wants to use the whale for this morning. And in the process, the whale was in the water, and he's moving around. Everything in the water is much smaller than he is. But the unique thing, God says, keep listening. And as I kept listening, the man said that the whale is the largest mammal on earth. I stopped. I paused. I said, hold up. I don't know about you, but once me as a mammal, because I'm a mammal, because I'm a human being, you know, you got mammals and you got reptiles, you got all these different creatures on earth and everything. When you say mammal, mammals walk on earth and they breathe in air. For the whale to be a mammal, how in the world is he living his life in the water? I said, okay, God said, keep listening. Don't get ahead of me. Keep listening. I kept listening. And it says that the whale spends most of his life journey in the water, the very thing that would kill him. I said, okay, God, it's kind of making place to note. Keep listening. And as I kept listening, he talked about the whale being in the water and the whale living in the water, and the whale got it every now and then, it would come up. And he said the significance of the whale coming up out of the water, and you see him go back and you see the water go whoosh, and it blows out. I said, what is that? God said, now you're finna get the meat of the message. When the whale comes up out of the water, the very thing that would kill him, he got to relieve himself from it just for a moment, and he take in a bunch of air. When he take in the air, he pushes it in his lungs, and he take his lungs and he squeezes his lung. As he squeezes his lung, the water that's in his lung come up. And as the water come up, he go back into the water, and it gives him some moments to live in the water that would kill him. God said, now you preach the message. Use the whale. That life is the water around you. You, as a mammal living in the water, and sometimes you got to come up for breath. To come up for breath means that you got to have a way of getting that breath of life back in you so that you can squeeze it in your spirit and go back into life and deal with the pressures of life. Oh, it's going to get real this morning. Because a lot of times we think and we teach that being saved, having God and salvation, that means that you got no worries. But that's the moment you got the most worries, because now you understand what he's telling us here. And he began to illustrate in a figure of speech this word metaphor. It came up in my message. I want to read these verses real quick. Beginning at the 12th verse, the 2nd chapter of Philippians. And it reads, wherefore, my beloved, as ye have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but much more in the absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. For it is God which worketh in you both to will and to do of his good pleasure. 14, do all things without murmuring and disputing. 15, that ye may be blameless and harmless, the sons of God without rebuke, in the midst of a crooked and perverse nation, among whom ye shine as the light in the world. I got to deal with 16 too. Holding forth the word of life, that I may rejoice in the day of Christ, that I have not ran in vain, neither labored in vain. I got to deal with that right there. Because Paul's saying a mouthful. Paul's saying, make sure you're wearing your salvation properly. Have you ever walked up to somebody and they had on a particular outfit, and when you look at the outfit don't make sense? The outfit don't look so good. The outfit stands out too much. Or a particular item on the outfit. My wife is a fashion influencer. She loves to dress, and she people hire her to go out shopping for them, and she buy them clothes, and she take them and she pick out what they look best in, and they love that. They pay her extra for that, you know. I said, Lord, thank you for people that would keep her busy, and she go out and she do her job and she do it well. She go to all these stores. She love to walk through the stores and pick out the outfits, and then she bring them back after she done been there to help them deal with what she bought them, and then they would get that item and take it home. The thing of it is, sometimes I would put on clothes and my wife would say, are you gonna wear that with that? I said, yeah. What's wrong with it? She said, oh, if that's what you want, go ahead. Now I'm real inquisitive of why you say that to me, and I start trying to work it out. I start looking at what I got on, and I said, what would you put on with it if you had it on? And she would say to me, she said, you don't have to change because I'm asking you to change. And I said, no, I don't want to look crazy. I want to look right. And I put it on, and she said, you don't have to do it. Do what you want to do. I said, I am doing what I want to do. This is what I want to do. I want to change the outfit because you done made it known that this don't go together. So I put on a different outfit, and I changed my look. Sometimes in salvation, we can't get mad when you find in salvation. Sometimes somebody will come up and say, you're wearing that wrong. You got on that salvation, you're doing the wrong thing in it. It wasn't meant to be worn like that. It wasn't meant for you to act with it like that. It wasn't meant for you to respond like that in it. My daughter gave me a call, and she said, I'm working on something. And I said, oh, okay. And she began to tell me she's working on the fruits of the Spirit. And she wants to be a perfect example of the fruits of the Spirit. Man, that's a mouthful. And I said to her, I said, baby, just do the best you can. And she said, no, Daddy, I want to do what's required. And I said, oh, okay. You're taking on a big task. She said, I want to make sure that as I represent Christ, that the fruits of the Spirit is represented in me and I'm living them out. Even though I've been saved 48 years, I began to say, do I wear the fruits of the Spirit properly? See, I would change my outfit because my wife said don't go together. But then when she said, am I wearing the fruits of the Spirit the proper way, I began to search myself, and I began to look, and I said, Lord, have I been representing you correctly? Have I been showing myself an example, approved to God, a workman that need not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth? Have I been doing everything you asked me or you require of me? The well, God says, reminds us that just because you got him don't make life easy. See, the well is covered by God just like I am. And the thing of it, the well can't come out of the water because he know God and live on land. It don't work like that. First off, he tend to come into land to get a little air because he's been pushed and primed and he's been beat up on by the water, that he got to come out. And when he come out, he gets stuck on land. And human beings Us other mammals, we try our best because he's too heavy to pick up. He's too heavy to roll. He's too heavy to do a lot of. We get cranes and we try to pull him without damaging him to get him back into the water. We start digging up the dirt around him to get him in a better place. See, what I'm trying to show you, life will beat you. Life will make you feel gloomy. Life will make you feel depressed. Life will beat on you, not because you got God, but life will do what life do. Life is supposed to beat you down. But God says salvation is those little mammals digging the dirt out from around you. Salvation will dig up your foul foundation that you got stuck in. Salvation will help you deal with what you're dealing with. Oh, can I show you something? Last week I said that salvation is to prevent you from harm, danger, damage, click it for me. Harm, risk, loss, and destruction. That's what salvation covers. And I got a text when Sherman Williams had the big explosion. Boom. People heard it from miles around. People started reaching out and people started asking me, are you okay? And I said, yeah, I'm good. They said, I heard about the plant, blew up. I didn't even hear about the plant that blowed up and none of that. And I was sleeping. I slept through the whole thing. When I woke up, I said, baby, they said the plant blew up. I'm trying to call the people that I work with to see if they shut down Sherman Williams, and I got a day off. Yeah, I was looking at it the wrong way. As I was looking at the process and as it was happening, the thing of it is, what I found out having salvation, it will protect you from destruction. And I got a text. Say, are you all right? I said, I'm good. Are you okay? They said, yeah. They said, your message came to life today. I said, yeah. It says, yeah, because God protected you from destruction. You was nowhere in the vicinity because God said he pulled you out of that situation. I thank God that I wasn't trying to make a delivery to that plant and it blew up. Then I would have been in the wrong place at the wrong time. But he'll protect me from harm, risk, loss, and destruction. Salvation will do that for you. The world in our process, God said, use him because he's going to show my people how to deal with the things that they're going through. We get so wrapped up in having good things. I'm almost closed. We so wrapped up in having abundance of life. I remember when I grew up, we didn't have but a wooden TV, and it was about so big, wide. It was about that big, and it stood from the floor up to about this high, and it had a glass bulb in the middle of it, and you turn the knob to turn it on. That's how old I am. That's the way TV worked. There wasn't no wires hooked up to it but an antenna. And if the antenna didn't work, you go in the house and you'll get a hanger where you hang your clothes on, and you take it apart, and you'll wrap foil around it, and you will hook it to the TV between these two screws and give yourself reception, and the picture come clear. The thing of it is, the TV still works the same way. Even though it's got a different design, it worked the same way. The Bible lets me know that in this process, us as human beings, we are mammals just like the whale is a mammal. And the whale deals with things in his life because God take it through that because it's part of his life. See, we think and we got this notion that when God comes in our life, he's going to change everything about our life and it's going to be all nice. Don't work like that. Just because you get a brand new car don't mean your problem's been solved and you don't got car problems no more. You really got a real huge problem if you buy it brand new. Smells good, got that new car smell in it. Ain't nobody set in it. It's got on the mileage, it says 20 miles. That's as far as the car being. You looking at, you finna put 400,000 miles on the car. You said, man, all my car problems are solved. I got no more worries. It's just begun because now you got to find some insurance. And you didn't have an insurance bill when you had that old car. The most you can have is a liability, and you can pay $40, $50 a month, and you good. But when you get that new car, you got to have PPI. You got to have full coverage, bumper, front to back. You got to now have all of this coverage on it to make sure that when the hail comes and it get damaged, you now got to pay $400-500 for insurance. On top of that, you got to make the car note of $400 or $500. Now, the $1,000 you had in your life is sucked into the car. Now, you tell me if it's better to drive a car that got no car note, but the air conditioning work, and it's not brand new, but it gets you from A to Z, it takes care of your car needs. Is it better to have that, or is it better to have the brand new car making $1,000 a month? Because now your life got harder. And then you go to God, Lord, I got all these problems, and I got all these situations. I need you to come in right now. I need your help. Lord, you done forgot about me. I'm down here dealing with all these bills. God said, you the one made them. Deal with them. A man told me when I was complaining one day, he had a little money in his pocket. He had a bank account, but he could drive brand new stuff. And sometimes he would go get his Viper out of the storage, and he would ask me to come ride with him, and we go ride in his Viper, which is a very expensive, nice car. And we would ride, and man, he put on his riding gloves. He said, I don't drive this car every day, but this isn't a driving experience. You finna experience something. Man, we get in that car, and we go, woo, man, it pulled me back, and I'll be like, oh my God, you're going too fast. You got to slow down. He's like, no, that's the joy of riding this car. Man, he'd take me through that experience, and I was like, man, why would I want to drive a car going down the road almost 100, 200 miles an hour, and it's pulling me back to the seat? I can't even control my movements while I'm in it. The car is rumbling and it's shaking. I asked him, I said, why you got those gloves, trying to look good? He said, no. He said, if you ever drove a car, a sports car that got horsepower that really can drive, not something that go 80 miles an hour, that's nothing but something that can get to a maximum of 200 miles an hour, you need gloves to hold the steering wheel, because the way the road, the way it's going to grip the road, and you got to keep it together. You'll get blisters on your hand. You'll be bleeding if you didn't have those gloves. And I said, man, that's a lot to drive that car. I'm going to stick to driving a car that I can use and turn it with my finger. Because you can't turn a sports car with your finger, or you're going to kill you and the people around you. God said, let them know. Just because life is hard, that's okay. Salvation covers you when life gets rough. He lets me know that the well, I got to get back to him before I close. In this message, the writer used a metaphor. And a metaphor suggests or direct something that's not that thing to it, to connect it, and they're not even similar to each other, but it's a metaphor. It makes you think of it. So I'm gonna make y'all whales this morning. Y'all are a bunch of whales. Y'all are a whale, and y'all in the water. Life around you is your water. You're a whale dealing with your life process. Dealing with your life process, I want you to understand that the whale in this, he lives in water most of his life. And I began to Google how much water is in the world. And I Googled the earth and how much water is on the earth. The earth consists of 71% of it water, meaning 29% is land. The whale is vast in his body size, his weight. He can't walk around because he got no legs. He only got a tail, and he got to flap it to move there and there. It's got to guide him. It's got to show him where he's going. So I'm going to show you today, you're not a human with legs that you got control of. You're now a whale, and all you got is a flapper. I look pretty silly on the internet right now, but You can only direct yourself based on where your flapper going to take you. Your tail going to take you. God said use the well because the well is going to illustrate them. About 71% of the earth's surface is water covered. And the oceans hold about 96.5% of all Earth's water. Water also exists in the air as water vapor, in rivers and lakes, and ice caps and glaciers, in the ground as soil moisture in the soil that we raise our food out of. Even in you and me, there's some water there. So 71% of life itself, the world, is made up of water. I said, man, that's important. The well holds the record for the deepest dive by submerging by surfing and dwelling animals, has a host of Pacific, I can't get that word out, that allow it to dive to amazing depths. This is important, and I want you to get this. Really listen to me. The whale has to, without a doubt, without options, it has to come from the surface where you can see him come up out of the water. And when he comes up out of the water, he got to grasp some air. He grasps the air to breathe because God just let him know it's time to go deep. I hope you get this. When he goes up, he gets the air, and when he gets ready to go back down, he exhales, he closes his lungs as tight as he can get them, and the water spills up. When it spills up, he goes down deep in the water, and he keeps going deeper and deeper and deeper in the water. The deeper he gets, the more pressure the water puts on him. The water, he doesn't have the bone structure to keep him from being crushed by the water because the weight of the water is now upon him as he goes deep, but he has no choice but to go deep. He knows that the deeper I go, the more opportunities that I have to be crushed by the very thing that I survive in. It's getting real right now. So he goes deep. The reasoning for him grasping the air is that he put the water, the air in his lungs, and he prepared himself for the journey. See, we're so busy now worrying about what we don't have that we don't condition ourselves to go through what we gonna get. We're so focused on not having that we forget that it's God's ability to condition you for where you gotta go. So he goes deep, knowing that it's trouble down there. How many of you run to trouble? We run the opposite way when we see trouble. We think that's an insane thing to run to the problem. We try to run out of the problem. But look at God. Look at God. I got to close. God says the well go deep. The reason he goes deep is he got to go through the trial. He don't have a choice. You as children of God don't have no choice but to live in this world. And living in this world is your water, and you got to go deep sometimes. Sometimes you got to have problems. Sometimes your air conditioner going to go out in your car in the heat of the summer. Sometimes you're going to go to the bank to get a loan, and they're going to deny you. Because that's life. Sometimes your credit score is going to drop from 7 to 300. That's life. Sometimes you're going to go to the car lot, and they're going to say, no, you can't have that one, but you can have this one. You're like, no, that's the one I came for. No, that's the one you can get, or you got to leave this car lot. Sometimes you go to the grocery store and you see the steaks on the meat shelf. You see all of that good cut meat and you can't get it. You got to settle for a hot dog. You ever had a taste for a steak on the grill, seared with the right temperature and the right degree of cooking, and you can cut it and the juices run out, but you got to go into the store, pass that up, and get a hot dog. Hot dog don't even cut. Juice don't run out of hot dog. I don't care how you do it. A hot dog don't match. Be like, Lord, I'm living dedicated enough that I should be able to eat a steak. God said, no, you're in a hot dog moment. You're in the moment where the well had to dive. The well was in good position at the top surface of the water. But there's nothing to eat there. Thank you, baby. There's nothing to feed upon. To get the food that he really needs and the nourishment that he really needs, he got to go into the deep. And he goes into a spirit, a forceful dive, whoosh. And he going, anything get in the way, gonna get hurt, because he ain't stopping. It's hurting him to get there. How many of you going through some things right now in your life? You on the internet, you watching on Roku, you going into a situation, your life looks like it's upside down. It doesn't look like nothing positive can come out of it. Nothing great can be done from it, none of that. But you're diving deep into the problem. But you gotta dive deep to get out of it. Woo! I hope y'all get this one. Because sometimes I dive in my life, and my life tells me God is with me. Why? Because salvation is there, and salvation protects. Now, this is where the salvation is coming into effect, because the well got the water in his lungs. The water represents his salvation. It's going to protect him. That one breath, and he squeezes it in his lungs. He don't exhale it. He squeezes it tight. See, when we get in trouble, that's when we exhale. Can I tell you what exhaling is? It's when God takes you through a trial and you say, God, I thought you loved me, and you go back to your old ways. God said you were supposed to take that air, that breath of air, and you're supposed to survive this moment. You can't survive the moment now because you didn't exhale. Sometimes I don't know the lady's name, but she did a movie said, waiting to exhale. And in the movie, it was a bunch of women, and they were going through different situations and different things, and they needed men. And the thing of exhale was, in their processes, they'll find a man that would satisfy them and all of that, and they couldn't wait to go, all my life, I've been waiting on him. All my life, this moment I've been waiting for, now that I got it. Well, I'm going to tell you, you don't exhale. You better not let that movie direct you. Because when life comes at you, when life is dealing with you and you waiting on that man, you better hold it until God's sending the right one. Because a lot of them going to come. The wrong one's going to come. But if you exhale, you're going to get the one that's going to beat you upside the head all night. You're going to get the one that won't pay the bill. You're going to get the one that love to play Nintendo all day while you go to work. You're going to get the one that will eat up all the baby snacks that they got to take to school. You're going to get the wrong thing. God says that the well died. When he died, he had the air. But he dispersed the air from his lungs into his muscle. Because him as a fish can't go to the bottom deep like that and not get crushed by the water. But if he put the air in his muscles, he began to get muscle bound. He gets strong, that when the water pressure comes and it buffs him about, he can withstand it and go to the depth and get what he needs and then get back up to where he can get relief. Sometimes when you get knocked down and you're going through a problem, you can't get no job, you can't find a way to survive, you got to live with your mama and your daddy, you got to go and live with your sisters and your brothers, your children, and they treat you bad, they do things against you. That's okay. That's the pressures of life. But you got to take that breath so that you can endure that, so that you don't react the wrong way. You'll react the way God intended for you to react so that you can do what you need to do. Salvation will be your protection, baby. Take a big whiff of God. Ooh, I take a big whiff of God and I don't let it go. You got to take God in. When that fella is making you mad and you want to fight, they're going to think something wrong. You're just going to say, what you breathing for? I remember one time, you'll mess it up. I remember one time my daddy was chastising me. And while he was chastising me, I took a breath. I breathed. I said, I exhaled. I didn't inhale. I said, whew. He said, who you breathing at? I said, what you talking about? He said, boy, you don't breathe at me. I brought you in this world. I take you out of this world. He was angry. I said, all I did was breathe. He said, don't breathe. You breathe wrong. Sometimes the devil is coming at you, and you don't see you inhale. He see you exhale. He said, who you think you are? I done took down bigger people than you. I done took saints that really had they focus on God, and they couldn't. I took Judas, and Judas was right there walking with him, and I took Judas out. I can take you out. Who you huffing at? Who you huffing and puffing? See, you don't get nothing out of that. But when you inhale, when that joke is about to get to you and you about to react the wrong way, you need to go and release it into your spiritual muscles so that you can deal with that joke. And you can tell him, and he'll be like, man, you okay? Something wrong with you? I just attacked you. You're not going to respond. Your response was, I took a breath in, and I got Jesus in me right now. My salvation going to protect me. God says, the well dive deep, and I can't preach it all today. That's why it's a series. How do whales survive without air for so long? Whales' bodies are specifically adapted to store oxygen in their blood and muscles. Instead of keeping it in their lungs like humans, they put it in the blood and in their muscles. I said, Lord, so I've been breathing wrong all the time. I take a breath and I give it back to where I got it. That's all I use it for. I take a breath and I put it back where I got it. But the thing of it is, being a human, and you do that, you breathe in oxygen, but you release, carbon dioxide into the air. You release poison in the air. And I said, God, why don't I die when I release the air, the poison, and then I breathe again? Why am I not sucking back in the carbon dioxide? God said, because I designed you that when you breathe in air, you give out carbon dioxide so that the trees can keep on living. The trees take the carbon dioxide, the poison, and they suck it up. See, God have already designed the process perfectly. I don't need you to do every single aspect of it. I just need you to do your part. Whales have extraordinary high levels of protein called, man, I'm going to have hemoglobin, yeah, and metaglobin, boy, I'm really messing these up, which store oxygen in their blood and in their muscles. So me as a human, I don't have that ability, but I do have the ability to take salvation and put it to work in my life, and salvation will convert, because salvation is a converter. It'll convert what you can't use to make it something you can use. I gotta tell you about that part. Then I'm going to my seat. Having salvation converts the troubles of life to the joys of life. Joy of life, you would think it would come from the shiny things you come across. That's not the joys of life. Joy, J-O-Y. The joy of life ain't the things you achieve or accumulate to make you happy. Salvation will convert those things to real true happiness. It's understanding that when I lose these things, it's okay because God give it and God take it away. So the next time you get some brand new or you get a big check in the mail, you get $5,000 in the mail and you think all your problems solved. No, let God take it away. Because you know why? Because God going to take it, convert it, and give it back to you so that it'll do what it's supposed to do. Because the lover of money is the root of all evil. If you start loving the money, thinking the money is bringing you out, you start serving the money and become a servant of money, meaning that you get rid of God and you start thinking that you can survive your process without salvation. A whale can't dive before he take a breath. A whale that dies before he take a breath is a whale that's going to end up dead. But a whale that dies after he take a breath, he going to live to take another one. He going to live to dive again. Sometimes you're diving when it's hard. When life is complicated, you're diving. When life is rough, you're diving. When life is taking you through the rough time, you're diving, baby. Just make sure you took a breath. It's too late to be in the middle of it and try to breathe. You'll suck in too much water. See, the thing of it is, he don't breathe no more once he take that breath. Whoosh. The whale don't breathe anymore until he come up out of the water. Because he can't get no air out of something that don't have air. Some of you are trying to get stuff out of things that don't exist in the thing you're trying to get it out of. What you need is to get God, then salvation will convert that thing you can't use to something you can use. I'm closing. I'm going to pick this up next week. I could keep going 2 weeks. I'll be picking it up in 2 weeks. I could keep going because God is in this message. And God wants you to understand finding salvation is finding him. Having salvation is having the protection plan. Having the protection plan means you covered. Being covered means that you won't lose harm, risk, loss, or destruction. I finally got them all. Harm, risk, loss, and destruction. Let's thank God for the word. I pray and hope God has touched you. My wife is coming. I was told by a member that I don't do this no more, and they wondered why. Even if nobody come today, I'm going to offer prayer for those that desire prayer. You may be going through a process right now that's rough, that's hard. You may be going through some things that you got to make a decision about. You may be dealing with something that's really in the way of your process. You may not be dealing with nothing. You may have somebody you know dealing with something and they need help. We're going to offer prayer. You got your oil. You're going to anoint them. You can go offline now. You can end our broadcast.